Vishal Khandelwal, founder of Shuffle Niveshak. The site needs no introduction. He's doing outstanding work in investor education, and he's been, writing some fantastic stuff on how you can be a how you can be a good investor, what are the classic ingredients which are required for wealth creation. Vishal, fantastic to have you back, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
I'm sure you must have read and reread that newsletter. How many times have you read it?
No, I think I've read it just once.
Okay, just once.
But yeah, I think as you mentioned, it's like old wine in a new bottle, right?
Yeah.
He's saying the same things year after year after year, and I think that goes back to the quote that Buffett and Munger often say, that investing is simple but not easy. So simple in the sense that people know the rules, and Buffett has been shouting out the same thing again and again and again in a new language.
Yeah.
But the difficult thing is to follow and practice over a long period of time.
It's only patience, I guess, right? Because
It's
his
entirely
mantras,
patience. Entirely patience, yeah.
Patience and temperament.
That's true. So temperament creates patience, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're connected actually.
So what to your mind stood out? I mean, I know it's more of the same, but
That's right.
newer examples from his own investment
That's right,
style, his own investment life have been given
That's
out.
true, that's true.
Anything that stood out?
So I think one of the first things, there are multiple things. One of the first things where it stands out on the first page, I think people need to notice that. So he gives his performance as for the book value of Berkshire over like 54 years. And on the right hand side, there's a table for market value change over 54 years. Now over 54 years, Berkshire's book value has increased at 18.7% per year, compounded, right? Market value of Berkshire shares has increased at 20.5%. So there's a gap of 1.8% per year. Now, the book value total growth has been 1 million percentage over 54 years, but that 1.8 percentage difference over 54 years creates a difference of 1.4 million additional return over a 54-year period. So I think again the same point, that small changes, small incremental returns over a long period of time can create huge amount of difference. And people don't need a 30% CAGR, you need a 18, 19%, 20% CAGR over a long period of time to really compound your wealth from equities. So that's one of the most important thing. Again, another thing that Buffett has talked about is compounding. He talked about the American tailwind, right, where he gives examples of if he had invested his $114 at age 11 in 1942, for the next 77 years, that has compounded to $600,000 in a no-fee index fund, S&P 500 index fund. But again, another important parameter that people often miss out is that if you just take 1% cut as expense ratio for those 77 years, that $600,000 straight away gets half to $300,000. So great small amount of returns, a reasonable amount of return over a long period of time can create huge wealth, but you also need to take care of the small cost, which are like leak in a boat, which really may sink
Which
you.
over the years
Over
really
a year,
ballooned
they also
to a
compound.
big
Like
number.
returns compound, the cost also
So if
compound.
one were to replicate this model here in India, would you say Nifty ETFs, buy, sit tight and forget about it?
Nifty, I'm not sure. So when you say Nifty, I'm assuming you're saying a 30 stock index, right? Buffett is
50
talking about
share
S&P 500 index.
Yeah.
So if you can find a bigger index, which is like a 500 stock index, and a very low cost, he talks about a no tax, no fee S&P 500, because the fee really hurts you long term. So if you find an extremely low cost, broader index ETF, I think that's one of the way to really grow your wealth.
Focus on the forest, forget the trees.
Yeah,
What
that's
did you
true.
make of
That's
that?
true. I think so. Quarterly, so people are worried about quarterly, not just investors, even corporate managers are focused on quarterly numbers. And as he mentioned in the letter, there are some trees in his forest which are not really, which may die sometime, which may be diseased and die. But you don't need to focus on that. You focus on where the forest is growing and how it's growing. So look at the broader performance of companies that you're investing in. Look at your time horizon. If you're investing for say 30 years or 20 years, don't get bothered about quarterly fluctuations. Buffett, for example, if you look at the performance of his companies, right, he's given a profit, net earnings of $4 billion this year compared to around $44 billion last year. So it's like 1% of what he did last year. If people focus on that and ignore the fact that his operating businesses have actually grown earnings from $14 billion to $24 billion. And large part of that loss has come because now, according to US accounting laws, they have to write off their stock market losses from their income statements. So focus on the operating businesses and ignore the stock prices and focus on the long term. Yeah.
Whereas we are talking about a disruptive world, the Amazons and the Googles of the world will change the way how we will consume and we will do business. A simple piece from Buffett is that don't buy gold.
Don't buy
Gold.
Yeah.
Very simple. If you tell an Indian then don't buy gold, he will say, "Pagol gaya kya?" That's the first thing. You have to buy gold in India, right?
That's right.
But Buffett is saying don't buy gold.
That's right. Right, so gold is not so. We need to, as Indians, we need to very much differentiate between what's an investment. A gold is not an investment like we think. A basic definition of investment is something that generates cash flows. Gold does not generate cash flows till you sell it. And again, the price of gold has no intrinsic value. So who determines the price of gold? It's entirely a bigger fool theory. So whatever people want to pay for gold, say 20 years down the line, you'll get that price. You cannot have, say, intrinsic value versus price equation. And historically, as Buffett has proved, and I am sure the numbers are almost similar in India as well, equity markets, whether you pick stocks or pick high quality mutual funds over a 20-30 horizon, have beaten gold hand down, including inflation, outside inflation.
When you see an experience like 2008, it just makes you wonder that why one should not diversify. I was at a fund manager conference on Thursday where we had Prashant Jain, Vetri, Navneet Manot, and they said, look, we all love equities and we understand the power of equities, but how do you avoid a trap like 2008 when equity will get a hit and the return is going to be so badly damaged that will just make you wonder that did I did the wrong thing by not diversifying?
So I would not look at gold as a diversification tool. Personally, in India, for example, I would look at gold as a way of parking my cash if I have a daughter and I want to really pass on that gold to her in the future, right? But I don't really agree to that diversification. Yeah, I don't really agree to the diversification tool because even if you look at 2008, right, that's one blip in the long bigger scheme of things, right? I have some statistics in terms of if you were owning the highest quality businesses at the peak of 2008 before the market crashed, and if you continue to own that till 2019, you would have made a minimum of 20% CAGR, right? With high quality businesses which are like gold, but which are cash generating, cash flow rich businesses, you don't really worry about 2008. So I would not really go into that pattern or go into the thought of diversifying into gold just to safeguard your future returns.
He's also emphasized on the point that at no given time would he run out of cash. He always sits on a pile of cash. Is that imperative? I mean, if you are there in it for the long haul and if you believe in the story of compounding, then why the need to sit on a pile of cash?
No, because I think Buffett clearly believes in what Graham talks about margin of safety, and he's mentioned that the pile of cash, we need to understand where the cash comes from. A large part of cash for Buffett comes from his insurance business, right? And these are the premiums that people pay for insurance policies. Now, Buffett has also mentioned that we are looking at doing elephant-size acquisitions, right? So he's waiting for those right kind of businesses to buy. Till the time he doesn't find those businesses, he's not going to just waste away cash like most businesses out there do, like most corporate managers. He's a capital allocator. He's looking at the right kind of allocation time and like kind of businesses to allocate his cash. That's the reason cash, he said, is one of the most precious commodities for him, because that gives him the option to invest in kind of business.
In the opportunity.
Yeah, what starts as an innocent fudge as well, he said, grows into a full-blown corporate fraud later.
That's right.
How would you look at this statement in light of the Indian context?
So I think one very clear example which comes out from history is Satyam, right? So if you read Satyam, go back and read Satyam's Ramalinga Raju's letter, he said that it started at a small fraud and then ultimately it became a tiger and I did not know how to come off of it, right? There's a very nice bias, very well-known bias called the contrast effect in investing. It's not just in investing, everywhere.
In life.
If you take small steps in life in building a habit, the brain does not notice it and you can create something huge. In the same way, if you do small frauds, nobody notices and you yourself don't notice. You think just one more time and you end up creating a huge amount of a big fraud, right? So as investors, I think people want to invest in a lot of turnaround businesses, turnaround managements in India as well, thinking that people change. My understanding is that people don't change. If they have committed even one kind of fraud or small kind of fraud in the past,
they have it in them to do it again.
They have, yeah. It's only the bull market that's telling you that they are not going to change. But the longer the bull market continues, underlying fundamentals.
So if you have to summarize this time's Buffett newsletter, can I say that for an average person who wants to benefit from his wisdom in an actionable work, has 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 rupees every month to spare, the first port of call should be buy a low charge index fund, keep it for 5, 10, 15, 25 years, and then don't bother about tracking anything else in life.
No, that's true. I think that's one of the good ways of investing and not bothering about anything. I would still advise people to look at, say, 1 or 2 actively managed mutual funds, because you still have active funds in India who have the potential, probably, who have done really well.
Can they do that in the next 15 years, Vishal? I mean, the track record is different versus the track record, and what happens in future would be very different because markets are much more disciplined.
That is true. That is true.
You still
one thing, I still believe there's a scope for some actively fund. If you're only focusing on funds, actively managed funds, maybe 1 or two. If you have a 3 mutual fund basket kind of a thing, I'll have one index fund which is extremely low cost and well diversified in the sense not a Nifty or not a Sensex, but a much more maybe a 500 stocks or a 200 stock index. If that is one option, I'll have that as an option. I'll probably put 2 active.
Will you buy a basket of 5 consumer names, top 5 consumer names, and forget about them from next 10, 15 years? Because the criticism what we get for in Asian Paints or in HUL and ITC that these are great companies, but stock महंगा है. Look at what happened to Levers in 1992 and 2000. The business grew, but the stock market return was not great. But since we're talking about 10, 15, 20 years,
that's true.
And can one really take that kind of a bet that buy the top 5 consumer companies in India and just sit tight on it?
I think buying top 5 consumer quality businesses at a reasonable, when I say reasonable valuation, I'm not talking about cheap valuation. Don't get quality cheap, right? But I would be willing to pay up for a high quality business and just forget about it, because over a long period, beyond 3 years, and these are numbers to prove, beyond 3 years, the quality of the underlying business takes over the valuation that you paid for it.
But at a reasonable valuation.
At a reasonable, when I say reasonable, it will be higher than the market valuation because you're paying for quality. But over a 3 year and beyond 3 years, it's the quality of the business which stands paramount more than the valuation that you paid for it.
So ETF or a basket of consumer names for next 10 years?
Depends on if you understand businesses, I would go with a basket of consumer stocks or basket of good quality stocks. But if I have no time, no inclination to understand business, I will not touch stocks. I will go with an ETF or a well-managed index fund or a fund.
The only problem though, I mean, with perhaps investing in an index which has a larger group of stocks is, I mean, look at the kind of returns that the mid and the small cap indexes have given you in the last 3 years. I mean, if you just look at that, you're much safer investing in the 50 Nifty names as opposed to a larger group of stocks.
But Aisha, you know, the champions of tomorrow will be the small ones today. You look at Dow.
No, purely because in the Indian context, the chances of underperformance of a larger group cluster of stocks, like in the mid and the small cap index case, is higher.
That I completely agree. But
and
the
Nifty would have the, you're safer investing in the 50 Nifty names.
But you reach Nifty only when you're at the peak. See, think about it. The company has lived its best life, and that's the time it's getting recognized. Now, index investing, I'm personally not a big fan of index investing, but for an average Joe, I think it makes perfect sense because the charge, the fee which you save there, I think is great. And the index also changes. I mean, the index also changes because you look at the composition of
the composition
index,
keeps,
it keeps on changing. So,
and of course, you need to look at 3 years or 30 years, right? Berkshire, for example, in its history has four time periods when the stock lost 50%. But people who held on to it made 1 million %, assuming they held on to it for 50
Nifty
years.
50 ETF or S&P 500 ETF?
I would go for S&P 500.
S&P 500. I don't think there's one available in India.
I don't think so. I probably realized that there was something from Goldman Sachs earlier, but I don't know if there's something as of now.
Actually, there's no one.
Broader index with an extremely low cost. We need to combine that.
I haven't seen that product. I mean, Nifty ETF.
So that's the problem with India. That's the reason I'm talking about more actively managed funds. Out of 3, 2.
Who's your favorite fund manager? Come on.
Rajiv Thakkar of Parag Parikh, and then the guys at Quantum, I think.
They do a great job.
Yeah.
Okay. Appreciate your time. Thank you for that frank answer. Normally when we ask this kind of a question, you know,
Sure, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay.